Hello everyone, this video is about Flask. I will be implementing all the API that is required to make one project, and the project name is the Leave Management System. You can clearly see in your screen, this is the API document, and I will be implementing all the API that is required to make this project. If you see here, this is the API that is required to create a users. That means we are able to create a users, we are able to edit users, delete users, and if you see here, this is for authentication, to log in, to refresh, to get the refresh token, and to sign up. I'll be implementing all these API also, and these API are for employee. That means employees will be able to request a leave, right? And the managers will be able to approve or decline that request. So I'll be creating all these API. That means I'll be creating all these API required to create a leave management system project. And if you see here, users will be authenticated to send the request. So I'll be also implementing this, and I'll be going chapter by chapter. First of all, before we started, code link will be in the video description. If you see here, I'll be giving this link, and to see the code, what you have to do is you can click on here and you can go to each chapter. If you want to see the code of chapter 1, you can click here and the code will appear. This is the code for chapter 1. So based on these branches, you can go to each chapter and see the code. The link in the video description. Now, without any delay, let's get started. Okay, let me create one folder here. Flask Backend server. I'm going to open it, and let me open it with Visual Studio. Okay, I will write my every code here. So first of all, I'm going to open terminal, and I'm going to create one virtual environment. So pip install virtual env, and make sure you have already installed the Python and this pip, and with this pip I'm able to install any packages, any Python packages. So first of all, I am going to install virtual env, and this virtual env is required to make this project independent to other projects. That means if I install some packages or library, that packages and library will be specific to only this environment. Let me click enter, and requirement already satisfied. Now let me create one virtual environment with a virtual env and my virtual environment name, suppose venv. Okay, now the virtual environment created, you can clearly see here. Now to activate this environment, I can write, if you are in Mac or Linux, you have to write this command, source venv bin activate. So this is for Mac or Linux, but I am in Windows right now, so I have to write venv scripts activate. Now I am inside this virtual environment. Now the package that I will be downloading will be specific to this environment. I can clear the screen. Okay, now I would like to install some of the packages. First one is Flask, and then Flask REST-AX to create the API, and then Python decouple to get the environment variables, and Flask SQL Alchemy for database. In this chapter 1, I will be initializing Flask, and also I will be creating one database, and the database will be dev database. I can clear this terminal. Now let me create one environment variable .env, and also I would like to create .env.example, and inside this secret key, and also this key will be, I'll be adding here in environment.example variable, and this .env.example will be public file, and this .env will be private file. That means I'm not going to share this .env files to other, but this can be shareable. Now to create secret key, what am I going to do is I'm going to open Python in this terminal, and then I'm going to import secrets. Okay, secrets.tokenhex 16 that means 16 bytes, that means it will be 32 characters. If I click enter, okay, this is my secret key. You can create your own secret key and you can put it here. So this will be my secret key and this is the private file. So my .env.example file will contain only the key, but my .env file will contain the key and value. When I keep this file in suppose GitHub, then my .env file will not be tracked, but my .env.example file will be tracked. So for that, what I can do is I can create git ignore file, and here I can pass this .env. That means don't track this .env file. Okay, with this now I would like to create another file, config.py, and here I am going to import OS. Also from decouple, import config, and now I'm going to initialize the base directory os.path.door name, os.path.realpath file name or file. Okay, this will give the path of my this folder. So this is the base directory. Here I would like to create one class config, and here I'm going to write secret key, and my secret key is located in this .env folder or .env file. And to get this secret file, I can write config and my key name is secret key, Control C and Control V. So I'm getting this secret key from the environment variable, and now I'm going to create another class. So this will be my dev config. I'm going to pass my common config file. That means my dev config will inherit value from this config class. I'm going to write pass for now. In the same way, I'm going to have prod config. I will put all my prod configuration in this class, but I'm not going to implement this prod configuration, but I'm going to implement only dev configuration. If you want to create test configuration, you can write test config, pass for now. And in this dev config, I can write SQL Alchemy database URI. Okay, I'm going to give path for my database. I'm going to create one database folder here, and all my database related code will be located there. So here I'm going to pass my database path. I can write SQLite. I'm going to use SQLite database. os.path.join. I have already defined base directory, and then I'm going to create one database folder. So database, inside this I will be having database, that is dev.db. Okay, this is the configuration. And one thing, let me exit from here from terminal, and I've already installed the Flask, React different library. I'm going to put all my requirement in requirement.txt file. So for that I'm going to write pip is requirements.txt. Okay, all of my dependency and library will be located here. And for formatting, I can install black for my text formatting or code formatting, and I can hit this command black dot. Okay, right now everything is formatted. Okay, so far what we have done is we have created environment variable. In this environment variable we have secret key and this git ignore. When you put your code in GitHub, then this environment file will not be tracked. That means other person will not be able to see this our secret key, because they have to create their own secret key. and this is my configuration file. In this configuration file I have to put all my configuration. Right now there is only one configuration, and that is for my SQL Alchemy database URI. I will be creating this dev.db database later. Now I am going to create my main file, that is going to be main.py. Here I'm going to import some libraries from Flask. Import Flask. From config import, I have created dev config. From Flask REST-AX, I'm going to import API and resource. Now I'm going to initialize my Flask app. So app equals Flask, and I have to pass this name. And to create my API document, I can write API equals API, and I can pass this app. And my document will be located in this path docs. That means if I go to this path, my API document will be visible, and also I can pass one prefix API. Okay. Now to add this dev configuration in my app, what I can do is I can write app.config dot from object. Okay, and I can pass here dev config. That means I'm going to load my dev configuration setting. Now I'm going to print hello world. So for that, what I can do is I can create one decorator at the app.root. So if I go to this path, then hello world should be visible. I would like to implement that. So here I'm going to create one function home, and suppose this message hello world from IG tech team. Okay, now if name equals main, I can run my application, and I can pass here debug equals true. That means I don't need to rerun my code again and again. The changes will automatically applied. So I can pass debug equals true. Okay, now my code is completed. That means my initial code is completed to display this message hello world from IG tech team. Now what I can do is if I run my code python main.py. Okay, now my server is running on this path, so I can click on this path, and you can clearly see I'm getting this message hello world from IG tech team. So I'm able to get the message hello world from IG tech team from my server, and this is the for the path slash. Here I have mentioned path slash. So in this path I'm getting this message hello world from IG tech team, and in this slash docs I will be getting API document. So if I go to slash docs, you can clearly see this is my API document. Right now there is no any API created, but this is my API document. To go to API document, I can go to this path slash docs, because here I have already defined slash docs, and this will be my API document. And to add some API in this document, I can do like suppose if I want to create API for this hello world, then I can write like this way. I can write API because I want to add now in this API document. So I can write @API dot root, and suppose I'm going to give path suppose hello, and I have to make class some name suppose hello resource, and I have to pass this resource that I have already imported here resource, and now I can create one function and return. I'm going to return one object, and here I can write hello world from hello resource. Okay, now if I refresh this page, you can clearly see now I'm having this default namespace. And if I go here, you can clearly see this is get API and the path is /hello. If I execute this, if I click on try it out, and if I execute this, you can clearly see I'm getting this message, hello world from hello resource. So we have created our first API and it is displaying this message. This is how we can create the API. So this is our first API. Now I'm going to create database. And to create database, I'm going to first make one folder here, database, and here I'm going to create db init.py. I'm going to import this app. You can see here I'm going to import app from this db init. So from main import app, and also in this database folder I'm going to create extension.py, suppose ext.py, and here I'm going to initialize my database. That means first of all let me import SQL Alchemy. From Flask SQL Alchemy import SQL Alchemy, and I'm going to initialize db SQL Alchemy. Okay, this is it, and in this db init I'm going to import this db. From .ext I'm going to import db, and now I can write with app.app context. I'm going to create all my database, so db.create all, and I'm going to print one message, database created. Now I'm going to initialize my database in my main folder. So here I'm going to import my db. So from database.txt I'm going to import db, or I can write here exts. Let me rename this file to exts extension. Okay, from database.exts import db. Now here I'm going to initialize the database. I can write db.init app. Okay, this is completed. Now I am going to explain this code. If you see here, I have first imported this required packages or library, and I have initialized my Flask app. This is my API document, which I can see from this path, and I have already make my configuration file. If you see here, this is my dev config, and I am importing here. That means I am going to pass this dev config to my application, and this is the part to initialize the database. That means this db, if you see here, this is here I'm creating database, I'm initializing database here, and when I run this code, when I run this db init.py, it will create my database, and it will take this dev configuration, and my dev configuration is, that means it will create my database in this folder, database/dev.db. Okay, let me create dev.db now. So for this, what I can do is I need to run this db.init.py in modular form. That means if you see here, I am importing app from the main, so I have to treat this db init as a module. That means this database, I have to treat this database as a module. So what I can do is I can write this command, python -m database, my folder name is database dot db init. I'm not writing like database/db init because I'm treating my database folder as a module, so I have to write database.db init. And now if I click enter, see database created, and you can clearly see my dev.db is created. And I can also open this dev.db. I have to download some editor. I have already installed this DB browser SQLite editor. If I open this, and it is not mandatory but it will be helpful, I will be able to see my database from here. So I can open database, and here database dev.db. I can open my dev.db here. Right now there is no any table, so all are empty, but I can preview my database from here. And this app is DB browser for SQLite. You can also download this editor if you want. So this chapter is completed. I have already initialized Flask, and also I have created my dev database. And in the chapter 2, I will be creating tables, routes and models.